Welcome to the Fund the People podcast. I'm your host, Rusty Stahl. I'm president and CEO of Fund the People, where our mission is to maximize investment in America's nonprofit workforce. We give funders and nonprofits cutting-edge ideas, research, and tools to help drive equity, effectiveness, and endurance in the social sector. So let's start the show. Welcome to the Fund the People podcast, everybody. In this episode, you'll hear a great case study of how a major investment in nonprofit workers at one organization can improve wages, workload, working conditions, programs, and program results. It's an incredible story that's still ongoing, and you are getting a sneak peek today. I'm going to learn a lot as well. I'm really excited to welcome our guest, Janelle Miller Moravek. Janelle is executive director of a local nonprofit called Youth and Family Counseling, which serves Lake County, Illinois. Janelle has served in this role since 2009. Youth and Family Counseling, or YFC, has been around since 1962 with the mission of opening doors to mental health care so individuals and families can cope, heal, and thrive. Janelle oversees strategy, programming, and operations while fostering strong partnerships throughout the community and plays a key leadership role in the region, having previously served on the board of the county's Alliance for Human Services. Janelle, thank you so much for making time to be here, and welcome to the Fund the People podcast.
Thanks, Rusty. I'm really excited to be here.
So one of the things we talk about on the show, and I know you know about, is I call it the chronic deficit of investment in the nonprofit workforce. And that comes from all angles, from government, from foundations and private donors, comes from inside nonprofits, boards and CEOs sometimes underinvest in themselves and their staff. So tell us the story. This couple who've been giving kind of regular sized donations says they want to do something different and asks you and the fundraising team or person an important question about what can they do. And so tell us this story. Tell us what happened with this in 2024.
Yeah, well, so 2024, we knew that we needed to do something pretty drastic because this turnover was killing us. Mm-hmm. And I happened to have a development director. She's amazing. Her name is Melissa. Melissa was a comp analyst in a previous life. And so she was tackling the problem using her comp analyst background and had a good sense of where we needed to move salaries. And we were literally thinking about what could we do? How could we do that? How do we need to tweak the philosophy? How do we need to tweak the different roles? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, this donor reached out to us and they said, we want to come in and talk with you. They've been following our work. And they said, we've made a decision. We want to do a one-time transformational gift. We want to have a huge impact. So they asked me, what is it? What can we help you accomplish that you wouldn't be able to just do every day? I was like, that's a really good question. And they're like, we really love this mission of increasing access. What do you think that would look like? Like hire more people? And I'm like, well, how big of an impact, of course, depends on how big the gift is. And so I asked, I said, well, what were you thinking? Like, give me a ballpark range so that I can answer appropriately. Mm-hmm. And they said, we're thinking 6 figures. It's like, oh, you can have a pretty big impact for that amount of money. And so...
Because they'd been giving something, right?
Yeah,
something
but not modest. Anywhere near that. Yeah, modest. And so we asked for some time to think about it. Mm-hmm. And we went back, and I do not like doing things just to please a funder. We don't create programs so that we can apply for a grant. We went around and around, Melissa and I did, and we kept coming back to what's going to move the needle here at YFC is going to be increasing salaries. Like, we really think that's what we need to do. And we were far enough along in our thinking and our calculations that Melissa could put together a proposal for this donor and say, if we do this, then we think this will happen. And then we think this will happen. So if we can pay our people more and we can retain them and stop this turnaround, then they will continue to provide sessions. We won't have turnover. We won't lose session delivery for clinicians who are having to ramp up. And that will ultimately mean we can deliver more sessions. That's what it's going to take for us to move the needle. So when we explained that to them, now they're super savvy. They're sophisticated donors. They're business people. And they said, well, that's honestly not what we had in mind at all. We see your logic. And everything you're saying makes sense. And we trust you. And if that's how you want to use this money, then we'd love to partner with you and help you increase access by increasing salaries. So, I mean, I still have goosebumps. We were like, okay. And I feel like we spat in our hands and we shook hands. And our proposal was over 2 years because I like to do things incrementally to test and see if they work.
Yeah.
And so we did that and we came back and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Now we have to roll it out, right?
All right. So what are the 3 or so things you've done with that gift to transform compensation and access as a result?
So we raised salaries. So Melissa, using her comp analyst superpowers, set a target. And then each individual, remember, we have 3 different tiers for our therapists. And we knew right where we needed to move people to. So we said, okay, but remember, salaries are salaries. And once you raise them, you have to pay those forever. You can't go back. And so we wanted to be really careful and make sure that we could sustain what we needed to sustain. So for us, it was increasing compensation, but it was also manageable work and caring supervisors and an engaging, fun culture. So we knew that we needed to have all of those sort of ingredients in our recipe for retention.
So it's really 4 things: compensation, workload, caring managers of people, and then the culture, like a fun workplace.
Yeah.
Fun culture. Okay.
And so we did all of those things. We have a logic model for understanding what's reasonable work that we created back in 2016 when we were doing this the first time around. And we went back and we updated it. And we used our supervisors and our sort of that middle management. We involved them in the process and we got their consensus and their buy-in around, okay, what's reasonable work? You don't want to come to work and feel like you're never meeting expectations, right? So we wanted to set reasonable work, and we did. We updated the logic model. Everyone felt good about this is reasonable. And then we said to the staff and to the middle management, okay, listen, once you are meeting the minimum expectations for this new logic model, you can move on to the new salary scale. And we went complete transparency and we showed them the current salary structure and the current salary scale. And we organized it a bit like a teacher salary scale. So it's based on your level. So are you an emerging therapist, an independent one, or an expert? And then your years of service at YFC. And we said, okay, here you go. This is where you guys are right now. And this is the new scale. And once you meet this level, we'll move you up. And we're going to look every quarter.
Okay.
Okay. So we're doing this together. We're like, we have some funding, but we're going to need you to show us that we can sustain this. And so once you've moved up and you've shown us, we'll move you up. And then once you moved up, we'll pay for performance. So we will bonus you every quarter that you maintain that level of service. And so we looked at Q4 of 2024, moved up about 7 members of our staff right away. And then each quarter we moved up more. And then here we are, we're 100% in Q4. 100% of the staff are on the new salary scale.
In Q4 of
2025. So it took us 9 months, but we're here.
So what did people have to do differently to hit the new pay scale?
They had to meet expectations for session delivery or billable hours. But remember, we're a Medicaid site. And so those billable hours could be case management, touching base with a family member, could be supervision. We just expected a certain level of billings.
And so that sounds like they had to do more work in order to move up in pay. Is that right?
Yes and no. So I would say that as a Medicaid organization and an organization that serves primarily youth and low-income households, people don't have control over their days, right? Children, they can't get a ride, they can't get to therapy. Hourly workers, their shift gets changed, they can't get to. So we have a very high cancellation rate. And so what we did was we incentivized our therapists. Instead of saying, well, that client didn't show, I have an open hour, to, oh, I have an open hour. What can I do to make up this time and make sure the client comes back next week?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of using their time differently so that it meets the billable, and it brings all these people who, for one reason or another, are not showing up, help make them get there. So that's a better retention on your client side, the relationship. Okay. So that's on the compensation side. And then on the workload side, you had this logic model, you updated it. And then when we did our prep call for this, you kind of said, you told people, this is a 40-hour-a-week job. We don't want you working more than that. We want you to keep it within these boundaries. So it really was about setting this expectation and culture of boundaried time for people so they don't burn out, overwork themselves.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that change has gone over in the last year?
So we work hard when we're here, but we do hard work. And this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so we need to sustain ourselves. And part of what that means in this age of constantly being online and being accessible is we needed to remind our staff to put up some boundaries. And in order for them to do that, we needed to get our managers on board. And so our managers work with their teams. They're watching timesheets. Why did you log so many hours? Why are you spending so much time on documentation? Are you doing it this way? We know this works over here. Why are you doing it this way? This is best practice. They're saying, okay, you have 3 weeks of vacation. What's your plan for taking respite time throughout the year? Let's plan it so that you're regularly being refreshed.
Wow. All right. So you're really changing the culture there, and it's almost anti-nonprofit. It's the opposite of most nonprofits, where it's like work hard, work a lot, and you will be acknowledged as a hero of our organization. Here you're saying, no, we really want you to not do that.
No.
Okay.
No. Because I need them to come back the next day and be ready to see more people.
Right.
And so life is hard, right? And so we need to be able to, on a daily basis, on a quarterly basis, refresh and recharge and come back. And that starts with daily habits. And you don't do them unless your supervisor is reminding you. And I really do pull quarterly reports on excess hours. And we have conversations.
So you're getting involved too as the executive director. People will have to have a conversation with you if over a period they're showing this overwork.
They don't have to talk to me. I'm putting in place the infrastructure and the systems. We're looking at the data. We're tracking the data on a quarterly basis. And so if we see that it's not where it needs to be, I'm telling a team leader, your team is overworking.
Wow.
What's going on? Why is that happening?
Okay, so we've talked about compensation, we've talked about workload, and now we're kind of moving into caring managers. So this is the role of these managers. What else have you tweaked in terms of creating caring managers for your counselors?
Here at YFC, I think, like many counseling centers, the managers tend to focus on that clinical supervision and that oversight of the cases. And we recognize that we really needed them to expand their roles, that they're the person that their team members are going to come to. And front lines for addressing all kinds of personnel things and workload. And my supervisor, assistant director here in the Libertyville office where I am, is strategically located in a corner office. And as people walk by, she knows exactly how they're doing, right? And then when she sees them, she's like, what do we need to talk about? But they are coaches, mentors, cheerleaders. They're not just doing clinical supervision. They're teaching. They're looking at those executive functioning skills, scheduling, time management. So we've had to skill up our managers so that they can be the scaffolding that we need them to be and hold their teams. So I know I will burn out if I take care of everybody. I take care of maybe 3 or 4 people. That's all I can handle. But those 3 or 4 people take care of 3 or 4 people who take care of 3 or 4 people. And if we do that,
Wow. Yeah.
we're spreading the work. But you see, you need the scaffolding of the middle management to hold things through to the bottom.
And then the last one you mentioned was fun workplace culture. You want to say anything real quick? Because we have a lot more important things to get to. And this is important too, though. Workplace culture. Tell us how this has played out in the last year.
You have to like coming to work. You have to have people that you like, especially in this environment where you need to be able to walk out the door and say, I think I need to talk to somebody. Like, I just had a really hard session.
So what have you done to help that happen?
So we do weekly lunch bunches at each of our sites, and the staff literally eat lunch together. Breaking bread is a really great way to develop and maintain relationships. Once a month, we gather virtually as a whole organization, and we spend probably 30 minutes doing introductions. We always have new team members, new interns, and also brags and bums. And those can be professional or personal, but it's to foster that culture of we care about who you are. We're also, a lot of us are still women, so it's really hard to separate the who we are outside of work from the who we are at work. It tends to be a blur. And then we also have fun. So once a quarter, we gather for 2 hours and we do something that is not work related in person. We've done minute to win it games. We just played backyard games, actually in my backyard in September. We've watched a movie and had popcorn and pizza. So we try to do something fun where we can just enjoy and be with each other, because that's where you make those workplace colleagues and you establish those relationships so that when you do need to lean on somebody, they're there.
And those events on work time?
Yes, of course.
Okay, good. Just making sure, just wanted to make sure people had that answer in there when they're listening to this.
On work time. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about the results so far. This is like, 8 months since this gift came in, this 6-figure gift, and you said we're going to use it for compensation, and it's going to drive accessibility and quality of our services. So obviously it's early still, but tell us what has resulted from all these changes you've made.
It's a good question. We have 9 months of data. We look at data on a quarterly basis. So at the end of September, we did our crunching, and I'm really excited. Our turnover is down. It's not gone. I don't think it'll ever be gone. And we had some folks who opted out of the new way of doing things, which I would have expected anyway. So we've had turnover, but it's much less than before. We've delivered...
What does that look like? Because you were at 40%.
28% turnover so far this year.
Okay.
And we've delivered 1,300 more sessions in the first 3 quarters of 2025 than we did in the first 3 quarters of 2024. So that's a lot. I think about a full-time person delivers about just under 1,000 sessions. So you're looking at about a person and a half. And we've done that with the staff we have, right? We've increased that much. And I was excited about that.
Yeah.
And the managers came around and they were like, Janelle, we're actually really impressed with, we think they're doing better quality work. This driving and motivating them to work a particular way, they're doing better work than they had before. And we're going to see this in the clinical outcomes. And so sure enough, as the year goes on, we are seeing more clients stick with treatment, right, and complete their episode of treatment. We are seeing more clients experience an increase in their improvement, right? So their symptoms are going down. All those improvement scores are going up, which is what we want to see. And they're hitting their treatment goals. And so I don't think the cake is fully baked yet, but it's looking pretty good with increased compensation, therapists feeling valued, doing the things we want them to do, not burning out, right? Spacing out their time off so that they can come back and be refreshed every quarter. It's making a difference.
Yeah. So the improvements in job quality and supervision quality and cultural quality, you haven't hired a lot more people during this period, right? but you're actually serving more people, increasing access.
Yeah.
So both qualitative and quantitative improvements to the end user, the client, the customer, the stakeholder, whatever you want to call the people who you are who are getting services from this organization. And again, it's not just the money. You didn't just say, we'll give everyone a raise.
Right.
You've changed the incentive structures for how people work.
Yeah, I agree with you. It can't just be money, and we still have to pay people a living wage, right? So we are watching things like, how do these salaries relate to the living wage in Lake County? And we use that really cool MIT calculator.
The MIT living wage calculator, right?
Yes. And then we're also looking at what's the ratio, right? Between the highest payest and the lowest payest employee. How big is that spread? And is that reasonable for an organization of our size? So I think there is data that you can pull to look at to see how you're doing in relation to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this too is that you're in a kind of qualitative business, right? Therapy is all qualitative. At least that's my perception. I'm not a therapist, but it's about the conversation, the relationship, what the person's going through. But you're taking a caring, quantitative approach to these quarterly metrics, and you're looking at both sides of how much are you making available to people, how good is it, and then how are you treating your people internally, and how good is it for them. So I think it's very admirable and very important, and that's why we wanted to have you come on the show. So for the folks out there, whether they're board members of nonprofits or executive directors or funders of nonprofits or individual major donors, right, who are skeptical of, if we pay for wages, we'll be stuck paying for these wages forever. If we help a nonprofit increase wages, they're going to depend on us, and then we're going to want to leave and do something else, and then they're going to collapse. Or prove to me that paying people better is going to improve program results. All those questions and those skepticisms that I've heard for a decade when I talk to people about Fund the People's mission, I mean, you are answering in just 8 months. I can't wait to hear what happens in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because
really cool.
the more more sessions you deliver, the more money you're bringing in. So in terms of that gift that came in, right, you're probably going to make whatever that gift was in earned revenue next year because you're able to deliver so many more sessions, earned revenue programming.
Exactly. Well, and let's be honest, in nonprofits, we do depend on philanthropy. And so, of course, I depend on funders, and I want to have a really good relationship. And I don't expect these donors to replicate this gift, but I do hope that they will continue to walk alongside me in some way.
Sure.
Because we've had a really awesome partnership, and we've done a lot together. And I think that's, to me, those are the goosebump moments when you have these donors and you can have, I call them 300 level conversations. You get to a place with them where they understand, and you're celebrating these things that other people might not understand, but you're like, yes, we did it.
We did it.
And they get it. Their grins are just as big as yours. And it's like, that is the best. And so, and not everybody has that kind of funding. And it also just starts with opening pockets and being open. And this fabulous couple trusting YFC and me and Melissa. Now, we had a plan, right? We had a plan, but saying, okay, let's give it a try.
Right. And so Medicaid, I guess, is changing, maybe, it sounds like. I don't know how that'll impact the state. But as we close out here, what is your thought about after this gift, after these 2 years, maybe you don't have a whole plan yet, but what's the thinking about what you would need to do to keep this approach going?
I'm there. I'm with you. And I think we've figured out a recipe for addressing salaries with clinicians. Now, clinicians are income, right? They're revenue generators. So it's fairly easy to figure that out. My next challenge is figuring out what that looks like for administrative and non-revenue generating roles, because that's going to look a little bit different. So we're having those conversations now because we have to raise those salaries as well to have parity across the organization. It's not fair to treat one group this way and these people this way, right? If we're going to be transparent, we also have to have parity. And so that's the next frontier.
Great.
Here at YFC.
I love it.
Haven't gotten to figure it out yet, though.
That's
I'll let
okay.
you know.
I believe you can do it. Instead of that downward spiral of turnover and burnout and turnover and burnout and low wages and burnout and turnover, you've got an upward spiral going, and that's what we all need to be working towards. So,
yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Do you have any departing message for your fellow executive directors or fundraising professionals or donors? Like, what do you want to say to the listening nonprofit community about your story here?
I think there are two things for me as I look back, and that is you have to have a vision and you have to have a plan. And the plan, it might not be right the first time, but don't throw it away. If that's what you really think as an executive director is what you need, figure out how to make it the right plan. Because we know our organization's the best as executive directors. And I will also say, having a development director who has a strong finance background has been life-changing for us here at Youth and Family Counseling. And Melissa, she can drive strategy and she understands the business model and the revenue pieces and how what we do over here impacts what happens over here down to the budget line items. So I think for me, that's been another huge aha moment of I need my development director to not just understand the strategy, but to know the business model and the numbers so that we can partner together to get it done.
Great. All right. Well, I think that is a fantastic way to end because talent investing, which is what you're doing in spades, brings together HR, finance, fundraising, governance, management, all into one effort to fuel equity and effectiveness and impact by investing in people. So we'd love to have you back on to talk about how this looks a year from now or whenever it makes sense to come back.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think this is so important. We have to value ourselves and we have to stick up for ourselves in the nonprofit sector. We do really good work. We do important work and we deserve to make a living wage. There's no reason we shouldn't.
Absolutely. And just as we do close here, where online can folks find you and Youth and Family Counseling?
So I am very active on LinkedIn. Folks can find me, Janelle Miller Moravek, on LinkedIn. And counselingforall.org is our website. And we'll be launching a new website in Q1 of next year. So thank you, Rusty.
All right. Thanks, Janelle. Thanks for listening to the Fund the People podcast. Visit fundthepeople.org and click on podcast to find the show notes and resources from this and other episodes. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate a 5-star rating and a quick review or comment in your podcast app of choice. It helps more people to find the show. To get the extended version of this interview, plus lots of bonus content, I invite you to join our Patreon community. Visit patreon.com/fundthepeople to subscribe today. Thank you for the work you do. Remember to keep your tank full, take care of yourself, and take care of one another.